Today, we're going to dive deep, and I mean literally deep, to uncover the hidden physical network that powers pretty much everything you do online. It's this massive, unseen system you use every single day, but probably never even think about. So let me ask you a question. When you send an email or stream a video, where does that data actually go? If you're picturing it beaming up to a satellite or just kind of floating around in the cloud, you're not alone. But the reality? Well, it's way more down to earth. And honestly, a lot more incredible. Because here's the surprising truth. 95% of all international data travels through physical cables that are laid all across the ocean floor. That's right. Almost every single email, every video, every financial transaction you make, it's all crossing the globe through this huge hidden web of undersea fibers. So first things first, let's just bust a huge myth right off the bat. This whole idea that satellites handle most of our internet traffic, it's one of the biggest misunderstandings about how our digital world actually works. I mean, the difference in what they can handle is just, it's not even close. Satellites are super important for certain things, don't get me wrong, but for the insane amount of bandwidth our world needs, they just can't keep up. You've got that time lag, right? The signal has to go all the way up to orbit and back down, which is why a video call over satellite can be so choppy. But undersea cables, they are the undisputed heavyweight champions of global data, period. And this, right here, this is the real World Wide Web. It's not some newfangled invention either. Its history goes back more than 150 years, and the scale of it today is just staggering. And if you want to understand just how crucial this is to our economy, get this. Way back in 2004, these cables were already carrying about $7.4 trillion in financial data every single day. Today, that number is it's astronomical. We're not just talking about streaming movies here. This is the central nervous system of the entire global economy. And the evolution of the technology is just mind-blowing. You know, the first transatlantic cable in 1858 was this huge deal, but it could only send about 143 words in 10 hours. Then you fast forward to 1988, and the first fiber optic cable could handle 40,000 phone calls all at once. And today, a single pair of fibers inside one of these cables can carry 150 million calls. The jump in capacity is almost hard to even wrap your head around. And okay, this might be the most surprising fact of all. For all their massive importance, for all that data they carry, these vital arteries of our digital world are shockingly small. A lot of the cables connecting whole continents are no thicker than a garden hose. Seriously. But, that tiny size, that points to a huge problem. Because this network that we all depend on, our global lifeline, it's also surprisingly fragile. So one of the biggest weak spots is where these cables actually come ashore. They're called landing stations. And since getting space on the coast is tough, a whole bunch of these cables often come together in just a few spots, creating these incredibly crowded and critical choke points. And how concentrated are we talking? Well, get this. On the US East Coast, pretty much every single cable connecting North America to Europe comes ashore along the same tiny 30-mile stretch of coast. Just think about that. A single local disaster in that one small area could cause chaos for an entire continent. So what's actually damaging these things? Well, it's a mix. The vast majority of breaks, we're talking over 2/3, are just accidents. Stuff like fishing trawlers or ship anchors dragging along the bottom. But then you also have natural disasters like earthquakes, and, maybe more concerning, the very real possibility of deliberate sabotage. And here's where it gets kind of crazy. To stop those accidents from happening, the exact locations of these critical cables are published on public nautical charts for every sailor to see. It makes sense, right? It's a safety measure. But it also means that anyone who wants to cause trouble has a perfect map to our most vital infrastructure. So, what really happens when one of these cables gets cut? It's not just a little slowdown. The impact is immediate and it is severe. Let me give you a real-world example. Back in 2006, an earthquake near Taiwan snapped 9 different cables all at once. It crippled communications and financial markets all across Asia, and fixing it was a massive undertaking. It took 11 special repair ships and 49 days of really complex deep-sea work to get things back online. And you have to understand, the global financial system is completely dependent on these cables. As a top official at the Federal Reserve once said, "When these networks go down,
The financial system doesn't just grind to a halt, it snaps to a halt. It's basically like flipping an off switch for trillions of dollars. To put a final number on it, experts figure a single major cable outage can cost over $1.5 million for every single hour it's down. The financial damage just piles up incredibly fast. Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, the source material for this explainer doesn't just leave us hanging with the problem. It actually proposes a really smart, proactive solution. The basic idea is brilliantly simple. Instead of just waiting around for a cable to break and then racing to fix it, why not build a system to stop the break from ever happening in the first place? You can think of it like a global neighborhood watch for the ocean floor. This would be a huge shift in thinking. Right now, our whole approach is reactive. We wait for an alarm to go off, then we scramble a repair ship, and it takes, on average, 1 to 2 weeks to get it fixed. The proposed way is proactive. It would use a network to watch ships near the cables and automatically warn a vessel if it's getting too close or if it looks like it's about to drop an anchor in the wrong spot. And look, this isn't some science fiction fantasy. This idea is based on a system that's already out there, called MSIS. It's a public network that almost 70 countries already use to track ships and share data. So we already have the technology and the framework for cooperation. It's just a matter of using it to protect our most important data line. Which kind of brings us to the final question here. Our seamless digital world is built on a very real, very physical, and surprisingly fragile foundation of garden hose-sized cables on the ocean floor. The technology to protect them is already there. So the real question is, in a world this connected, whose job is it to protect this lifeline we all share?